Hey, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Tuesday, the 4th of March. Can't believe we're in March. It's incredible, isn't it? Friday afternoon, I was working from home doing some catch up computer work and things like that, and a lot of it was like writing notes and things. So I had my computer on and I was just checking out what was going on in the news, and I witnessed something, or I watched a news report on something that was really quite disturbing. At first, I thought it was a 6-year-old in a sandbox playing with a 12-year-old. One of them screaming over the other one. And then I realized there's another 6-year-old in the sandbox egging the first one on. I thought, oh dear heavens, what are we looking at? This is ridiculous. Why has this made the news? Until I realized what it was. It was the Oval Office. And J.D. Vance, and as someone told me from the States told me I could call him the buffoon, were taking hits at Zelensky, who was really quite level-headed. I'd say he was a 12-year-old. Trying to explain what he was trying to talk about when they just talked over him, yelled at him. And it made me think of the fact that we have, I think we've actually done a disservice over the years around some of the ways that we train people. Vance is a bit younger than me. The buffoon is quite a bit older than me. And Zelensky is also younger than me. And I think that, I think there are probably some disparities in how people were raised and things like that. However, I remember when I was in school, both Sunday school and school, like elementary school, that when we were speaking, if we were responding to something or if we were, in a conversation, we had to listen. And if we didn't, the teacher would, warn us. Or we had one teacher who just threw chalk. He didn't whip pieces of chalk at us. He'd just toss it at us to gently hit us in the noggin to remind us that we have 2 ears to listen and 1 mouth with which to speak. And we were always it was ingrained in us that we need to wait, take a pause, take a breath before we speak. If the person speaking is done and are waiting for us to respond, us waiting and taking a quick breath won't make them feel like they haven't been listened to. As a matter of fact, it would help them to understand that they were being listened to, that we have been listening and not simply formulating our next argument, and that we were about to answer in a polite and calm manner. That is not what we saw on this newscast, or any of them that were on the news that day on Friday. What we saw was 2 bullies in the sandbox trying to beat the hell out of the one person in the room who was making sense. And isn't that just the way it is with the world these days? It seems a lot. And we can't let it win. I don't have the ability, nor do I have the right, nor do I have the inkling to go and pick on some bullies and take them on myself and give them a good pop in the nose and say, don't speak. But what I do have the ability to do is to think about how I speak to people. How do I respond when I'm disagreeing with someone? And there are times that I do. And there have been times and I have handled it very diplomatically, when I have been calm and gentle and waited that pause and took a breath. That doesn't mean that I wasn't already formulating what I was going to say in my head as the tirade was happening in front of me. I think that's a bit of human nature. But I do know there have also been times when I haven't been so regulated, so disciplined, and I have lashed out. And each and every time when I have lashed out, it hasn't worked well. Maybe something terrible and totally, horrific didn't happen, but I knew that I didn't handle it well. I may have gotten the response I wanted or the outcome that I preferred. More often than not, I probably didn't. But in the end of the day, I didn't feel good about how I reacted. And in a world that seems to be being run by 6-year-olds these days, and there seems to be more and more of them, I think the 12-year-olds have to be the ones to stand up and say, enough. You can either speak to me with respect and you can listen to what I have to say, or I can just walk away. Or I can just sit back in my chair, cross my hands, and let you go and go and go and go and make yourselves look like arseholes completely, because the more you speak, the more everyone recognizes the emperor has no clothes. Those people out there, I hope I'm one of them. I think I am more of the time than I'm not. Those of us who want to be mature, who would like to have the best for all people, because if the best is happening for all people, it means we're included. Nobody wants bad things to happen for themselves while good things happen to everybody else. It's just human nature. We want good things for ourselves. But the clue is that when we want good things for ourselves and we work that way, it works out better for us if we help other people have good things too. And that goes with the marbles that we play with in our sandbox, to the money that we use to buy the marbles that we play with in the sandbox, to the conversations we have that help us to earn the money or find the money to buy the marbles that we play with in the sandbox. We all know in the depth of our hearts, in that place that hasn't been tarnished by red hats and ridiculousness, that the truth of all of the matter is that the person who's been now labeled a dictator by the buffoon isn't. He was a man who was elected president, who was just trying to do his best, and an outbreak of war happened by no request of his own, and he has done a phenomenal job of trying to hold his country together, of leading as a statesman, when I don't think anybody would be too surprised or upset if he got angry once in a while. And yet he's able to lead with maturity. And I think we can all recognize that when a group of people are being penalized, they're being pushed around, a war is being perpetrated upon them, that we need to stand up and we need to recognize it, and we need to say, this is wrong. If we do nothing more than say this is wrong, then at least we have done one thing. We have acknowledged the truth. Better yet, if we do something about it, that we, I'm not saying we should all pick up arms, fly over to Ukraine and start fighting a war, but there are things that we can do. We can encourage our politicians to support Ukraine, to find ways that we can help the people, the families who have had to flee. And when the time comes, to help them go back and rebuild their country and find their husbands if they're still there. So we can pray for them. We can encourage them to be resilient, just as we hope we would be. And the truth is, one of the things that President Zelensky said was, you have the water between you. You have the ocean between you. How would you feel if this war came to you? It's something I've been thinking about lately. What would happen? How would I feel if the war came to us? I'm not so convinced that it might not happen. But I have to know that I and the people around me would still respond with a gratitude in their hearts for the gifts we've been given, for the country we live in, for the stewardship we've been provided, that has been placed in our care to take care of people and things, and the ability to act like the 12-year-old in the sandbox. Because the truth is, there are a lot of 12-year-olds out there. There are a lot of people who are mature and able to see truth for what it is and able to name it as truth. There are a lot of people out there who are willing to have a conversation and not just a shouting match. There are a lot of people in our world who can recognize the ridiculousness that is a 6-year-old in power. First of all, we need to not let that happen in our own space, in our own sandbox. But second of all, we need to pray for that 6-year-old, or the 6-year-olds, as the case may be, that they might start to mature, even though it might not look like it ever happened. We were once 6 too. We were also children, and we grew up. There is hope. It's a possibility that other 6-year-olds could grow up. But in the meantime, I think the best place that we could start is right back at the beginning, is learning how to have a mature conversation, to sit in our sandbox like 12-year-olds, to share the marbles and the little dump trucks and the shovels, to share our juice box and the snacks our mums pack in our bags, the Band-Aids that we have tucked in the front pocket of those backpacks, because, when we start playing hard in that sandbox, we might get hurt. But when we get hurt, or if someone else gets hurt, the right thing isn't to try to hurt them worse. The right thing is to try to help to heal the hurt. I don't know if I have much hope today, just a few days after that ridiculous scene in the sandbox in the Oval Office. But I know in a couple of days I will. And I'll believe that the time will come when the 6-year-olds might act like 7-year-olds, and that 12-year-olds in the room might start acting like 13-year-olds, and together we'll figure it out. We'll figure out a way to live in the sandbox together, to play and share our resources. Until that time comes, those of us who have figured out how not to be 6 anymore, it's our responsibility. As unfair as it might be, it is our responsibility to teach by example what it is to not be 6 anymore. So as you go about your week, as you go about your day, if you're tempted to get in with one of those shouting matches where you don't listen, you don't take that breath after the last thing the other person says before you start speaking your own words, you're being a 6-year-old. Take the breath. Take a beat. Listen to what the other person is saying and then speak to that. How much that is a problem in our world could be better if we simply take the time to listen to what other people are saying, acknowledge it, and then walk on from there. Have a great day, everybody. God bless you, and I will see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel for Ash Wednesday. Oh, it'll be a little bit different tomorrow, by the way.